Can I request Mr. Utkarsh Thakur to switch on his video so that we can see him, please?
I'll just stop sharing it for a second and then win it. Because the video is on, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, unable to see you, Utkarsh.
1 second. Just 1 second, please.
Dayanand Sagar University, Bangalore. I would like to welcome all of you, my distinguished faculty colleagues, staff, students, and I would like to specially recognize Mr. Jairaj, IAS, former Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Karnataka, and member of the board at Dayanand Sagar University. I would request him to say a few words as we go along. He's a man of great experience and immense knowledge and wonderful vision. And he mentors all of us as we go through work at Dayanand Sagar University. I would like to welcome Mr. Utkarsh Thakur to this gathering. He will take you through brand rejuvenation from his personal first-hand experience at Titan Industries. Utkarsh Thakur is a seasoned marketing professional with over 17 years of diverse experience in communication planning, broadcast and marketing of consumer goods. He has expertise in consumer understanding, brand management, product management, product portfolio management, communication and media, strengthened by exposure to Asian markets. He has been with Titan Industries for over 13 years now. He currently heads the e-commerce for watches and wearables at Titan Company Limited. In his earlier role at Titan, Utkarsh was head of marketing Sonata, India's largest volume watch brand franchise with a turnover of Indian rupees 5.6 billion and 5.6 million watches annually, creating channel sales and driving innovation across the value chain. Prior to this role, he managed the international business of Titan, driving brands, products, pricing, retail identity, and communication and tactical initiatives across markets in South and Southeast Asia and the Middle East. He graduated from the prestigious MICA Ahmedabad, and which is a prestigious institution for advertising and marketing. Under Utkarsh's leadership, brand Sonata has won numerous industry awards, including the Brand Equity Marketing Award in 2018, Effie's, MV's, Abby's, and the Corus Award as well. Utkarsh can tell us if I pronounced that right. I must, of course, thank him for taking time off on a Sunday evening and being here with us. And I must thank all of you participants for participating in this wonderful webinar. I will hand over to Utkarsh to take us through his journey with Sonata watches at Titan. And I would again like to thank Jairaj sir for participating in this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Subbarao. I hope I'm audible at the moment.
You're very audible, so you can share slide and go ahead, Utkarsh.
Absolutely. So it's a privilege for me to speak to this gathering of distinguished faculty, students, and I just hope that the experiences that I kind of share will leave you with some insight into an actual marketing process. I'm just sharing my screen for, just give me a second for that, and we can just then start. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Oh, perfect. So we'll talk about Sonata, and thank you so much, Professor Subbarao, for the absolutely crisp introduction to Sonata and to myself. And I'm privileged to speak to this gathering about my personal experiences in kind of transforming and taking the journey forward of one of India's most storied mass brands. So before we delve into Sonata, I come from Titan Company Limited, out of which Sonata is a 21-year-old brand. As a company, we were incorporated in 1984, and our first brand was Titan. And then we had a JV with Timex. Today we are known more for Tanishq than anything else, but watches was the first category and Titan was the first brand which we kind of started our journey with. Down in the line came our youth brand Fast Track, Sonata. We, kind of bifurcated into the Titan I Plus business. We opened a retail chain called Helios, and we launched sub-brands of Tanishq called Mia. We went the gold business as well through another subsidiary called Gold Plus. Zoya is our most premium offering in terms of jewelry. And then we went into accessories. We acquired Favorluba in 2016. We acquired Carrot Lane, and Tanera, which is handcrafted saris, is our latest offering from the company. Today, the stature of the company is very big within the Tata Group. It's the second largest company by market cap, with the fifth largest watchmakers globally, with a market cap of more than $15 billion. We have more than 8,000 people on our rolls. We have almost 1,800 stores with 2.3 million plus square feet. Often when you think about Titan Company Limited, you think about the brands, but we often forget that, we are also a formidable retailer within the country. And we have an annual revenue of almost close to $2.8 billion. With that, we enter into Sonata, India's largest selling watch brand. It's in its 21st year of operations, and very, very concrete data that shows us from 2011 that we have sold more than 5 crore watches. So over its lifetime, almost 5.5% of Indians today own a Sonata watch or have ever bought a Sonata watch. Unlike FMCGs, once you look at a consumer durable, that's a very formidable number. We are sold from over 7,000 sales points across the length and breadth of India. And we have some unique firsts, which we will talk about as I come to the slides. These are all products, Act, Stride, and Rush, very, very pivotal products in the brand's journey. We have 1 million plus Facebook fans, which is big for a mass brand. We have 50,000 plus Instagram followers. And over the last 3-4 years, we have won every major marketing recognition that exists in India. Very quickly, the brand was kind of born in 97, conceptualized in 97. In 99, we kind of took up durability as a USP. We got separated. So earlier it was called Titan Sonata. Today it's just called Sonata as a Tata product. And we talked about value for money in 2004. We roped in the then recently minted captain champion of the T20 World Cup, Mahendra Singh Dhoni. We launched Yuva, which was a very path-breaking collection for us, and that forayed us into the young space. And a relaunch happened earlier. Then, we kind of ventured into digital watches. And finally, in 2012, we talked about the larger-than-life Indian. So it's been like any brand, and I'll kind of come back to this very point at the end of my presentation. This is how different teams have handled the brand and different positionings of the brand have happened. The propositions, if you look at, then made for India, it started off like that, which was very long-term, for the long-term, very solid, for very stable people. It was a testimony to hard work. Then it was all about being self-made. I mean, you look at Mahendra Singh Dhoni and nobody exemplifies the aspiration and the achievement potential of small town India like he does. Then we were all about Wait Mat Kar, which was about the younger generation. And then the problem proposition, which is an interesting turn in the brand's journey, which is Karo To Shaan Se. I'll very quickly take you through one of the first commercials for Sonata. I think it gives you a perspective in what the thinking was on the brand during that period in time. And it will give you an insight how the brand started.
पहली नजर में दिखी मजबूती, दूसरी में शान, कभी नजर आई किफायती, तो कभी गारंटी, और एक हसीन मोड़ पे वाटरप्रूफ।
5 घड़ियों के बराबर सोनाटा टाटा की पेशकश 395 रुपए से लेकर।
So you look at the starting price points, you can get a pizza for more than this amount if you had to have a good meal. And that's where we kind of started offering watches. And the entire proposition of value for money is so ingrained when the brand started. The focus areas, when we started pivoting and thought that, some things are not working for the brand and the growth is kind of plateauing, then there were three things that we kind of looked at. Two, in fact, more than the third one, which is product, communication, and a lot of initiatives spread across these two domains, which kind of were based on consumer and business insights that took us forward. The product, product is the core for a lot of brands. You can say whatever you want to, but eventually the moment of truth is how the product fares. So there was a clear need to be contemporary and relevant to today's audience. We didn't want to really get very radical and very, edgy, because that's not who our consumer is. We wanted to give a premium offering, but through design and not by taking up prices. And we had a very simple, hypothesis that a lot of mass consumers whom Sonata speaks to stay in larger cities, and they have the same set of influences, the same set of stimuli, which all of us see and hear and are bombarded with, and hence their response to them would be similar. And we wanted a lot of the action on the brand to be in reference to what's happening in the outside sphere. As a large company, at times, we end up looking within, but the solutions for a lot of our problems, or at least the reference frames that we look for our problems, are outside. So we looked at what our market was saying, what consumers were saying, what was happening in the very rapidly growing e-commerce channel, and what was competition doing in the watches space. To give you a perspective, this is how the front page of Flipkart looks, and you have a Sonata watch today. And it's a testimony that such a storied brand, and a mass brand at that, has been able to break through in one of the newest channels in the Indian market, that is e-commerce. These are some of our competitors. Chances are you might have heard of these brands, you might not have heard about these brands, but just look at the price points. At roughly $1,000, you get a product that you can use for yourself or use for gifting. And these are the very, very potent competitors of our brand Sonata. And when you go to a dealer, these are the brands against whom we end up competing. These were how the watches looked 6-7 years back. And we really wanted to kind of claw back our product language and get it in sync with today's India. So this was, I think, a very watershed moment where we launched, I don't know, some of us might have seen this ad, might remember. So we had something called an art ka button, which is a small button at 8 o'clock, and it was meant for women. This could send through Bluetooth. It used to sync with your phone and send a safety signal to 10 pre-designated contacts. And this was a pivotal moment for the brand where we took up something as fundamental as women's security. And we did not make a song and dance about it, but we just said that today, if women need to be independent, if they're pursuing their dreams, this is just one tool for them to kind of keep going in that direction. I'm just showing you the commercial for that, for you to grasp this better.
यहाँ बैठे
नहीं बैठ जाओ
लाओ तुम क्या खेलती हो?
एथलेटिक्स नेशनल सिलेक्शन के लिए जा रहे हैं।
इतनी लेट, वो भी अकेले?
दुकेले।
हाँ ये भी सही है, पानी लेके आता हूँ।
घर पे टेंशन तो होती होगी ना? ना नहीं
नहीं, सब साथ ही तो हैं, काका ताऊ बड़े भाई सब।
कहाँ?
इसमें कोई टेंशन हुई तो ये 8 का बटन दबाना है 2 बार। चुने हुए 10 लोगों को लोकेशन के साथ डायरेक्ट मैसेज।
कमाल है। पेश है सोनाटा की तरफ से एक्ट, ताकि आपकी नजर मंजिल पर रहे। बहुत आगे जाएंगी लड़कियां, देखना।
So this was all about chasing your dreams. And then we kind of, if you look, there's a certain lightness, there's a certain vibrance to the product, which kind of came on. Our product became more and more modern and relevant to today's consumer. These are the newer watches that have, come in the last 2-3 years, and something very, very marquee collection from Sonata. The prices are not high. If I had to tell you that the prices of all these watches are below 2,000 rupees a watch, but this is the kind of offering that we are giving to our consumers today. This is something again very interesting. It's India's, I wouldn't say cheapest, but I think it's the most value conscious offering in the smart space. This is a hybrid smartwatch, which actually retails at 3,500 rupees and has got a variant at 3,000 rupees as well. And the entire thing is that a lot of first jobbers, young people who are kind of concerned about their health, but are unable to take massive health initiatives, can just figure out how many steps they've taken. They can set alarms for water hydration, etc. And this works fantastically well. The first smartwatch to give you 1-year warranty. So these are the kind of product innovations that we have been driving through brand Sonata. This was another thing, wearables and fitness bands are a dime a dozen, but we felt that a lot of younger people, so let's say class 12, early college goers, etc., need something at a very sweet price point, and that helps them navigate their happy and healthy lifestyles. And this SF Rush, which is a part of Sonata, kind of just came at 999. I mean, 999 was a big thing, and I'm just leaving a small video for you to kind of see that how we have targeted the younger audience when we wanted to speak about something as fundamental and basic as a wristband, as a health fitness band to the younger TG.
Hey, Rohan.
Hi, sir. For me?
By the way, practice पे आना क्यों बंद कर दिया?
क्या फायदा सर? पिछले 2 सीरीज हर मैच 0 पे तो आउट हो रहा हूँ.
लेकिन शुरुआत तो 0 से ही होती है ना?
SF Rush. Keep the rush on.
So to give you a perspective, we sold 300,000 plus units of this in roughly 10 months, which is a huge thing in the category at these price points. Then I think I'll quickly take you because a lot of us people who want to make careers into marketing, etc. I think keeping the consumer at the center of it all is exceptionally important. And there are certain insights that I want to share through our studies over the last 3-4 years on how the mass consumer in India behaves. And this is a distillate of some of those 7-8 key behavioral and attitudinal statements that our audiences identify with. And this is, what is in new age economic media, this is called Bharat. So these are all insights from Bharat. And I want to leave you with them because they kind of dovetail into how we change the brand proposition. So a lot of people are embracing digital India, from YouTube to Snapchat to Instagram. It's hardly anything, but we saw that how people from the mass TG and from smaller towns are so rapidly adapting into these mediums. Online versus offline, I think clearly there is a certain hesitation in buying offline, though a lot of browsing happens. Less is more. I think the entire piece where we think that being sophisticated, being more subtle about it is a large city phenomenon, is a more upmarket phenomenon, has now percolated to every strata of the society. And we are increasingly seeing more subtle dressing and styling and fashion cues at the lower end as well. People are updated on latest trends. The brands they buy might be different. This is actually, an auto driver's son who works as a shop manager, and even he had some 7-8 watches, which was such, a boost for us because we are in the category, but also it tells us that how people clearly see that, they need to dress up for each occasion today. And that knowledge or that awareness has seeped through every strata of society. A lot of content, international as well as Indian, is kind of getting attuned to local people because Hindi or English is not the lingua franca of a large part of the country, and they would want to consume stuff in their own languages. Diminishing social rigidity, earlier the barriers for a lot of things were very high, but I think off late things have been relaxing and people are more open to seeing how they function in society. Upward mobility remains a key trend, a key aspiration for Indians wherever they are. And clearly, children are very important. This is a mother from Madurai who has actually taken 2 jobs so that her kids can kind of go to an international school with AC classrooms and fantastic entrance results. And parents, even at the lower middle class, are absolutely okay in a lot of homes with their kids pursuing interests beyond academics. So whether it's be sports, music, they want to indulge their children in those things and will kind of go out of their way to do that. And finally, you people root for the underdog. A lot of people might know this lady who sang Ilayaraja's songs and really scored very well in Z Tamil in a reality show, and she was known as rockstar Ramani Amal. So a huge outpouring of support for somebody who came, and she's actually a maid. So that really opened our eyes at how conscious and how sensitive people are in terms of supporting the underdog in so many spheres of life. So if you come back and you kind of use a lot of these insights and look at how we kind of crafted the communication which took Sonata to the next level, then we spoke about the Panch Ghadi Ka Dam, where a watch had 5 attributes. Then we said we took Dhoni, we had Wait Mat Kar for the younger audience, and then we had something saying Jio to Shan Se and Karo to Shan Se. But there was a category link missing, and I think the entire search was there for a relevant point of view. So how did we do it? We went back to all our stakeholders, and this is somewhere where you marry academic theory with action on the ground, where we said, okay, we will revisit basics with all stakeholders. We went back to our consumers, distributors, employees, people who had worked with Sonata. We did a workshop and figured out that for today's audiences, the future is more important than the past. And the clear point of view that was emerging was that the only way to success is when somebody is showing courage and is fearless about their choices. Finally, Sonata is for people, who are kind of very set on their goals. And these big goals need significant markers. And Sonata is kind of prepares you for the journey and is through with you at every part of the journey of your success. What came out in terms of articulation was Sonata, which is Sonata for those who believe in themselves. And this really turned, I wouldn't say the brand's fortunes around, but it gave us a much, much more solid platform to speak to our consumers. During the same time, we took up Sushant Singh Rajput, only the second endorser in the history of the brand, and incidentally somebody who had played Dhoni, but he also exemplifies small town India. I'm just leaving you with a thematic communication which went national, which kind of just shows the power of this insight.
भाई इंटरव्यू का बहुत टेंशन हो रहा है यार।
मुझे भी।
भाई तू तो टॉपर है। गुड लक।
गुड लक। हाय गाइस। 2 दिन पुराना स्टार्टअप है मेरा। ऑफिस बड़ा नहीं है लेकिन सपने बहुत बड़े हैं। साथ दोगे?
भाई सैलरी
नहीं दे पाऊंगा लेकिन हिस्सेदारी जरूर मिलेगी। बिजनेस अच्छा हुआ तो साथ में आसमान छुएंगे, नहीं तो साथ में डूबेंगे। पर एक बात जरूर कहूंगा, उड़ने में मजा बहुत आएगा यार। Alright, it's time open for interviews.
नौकरी मिलेगी सर?
जो करें खुद पर यकीन, सोनाटा।
And then we kind of used Sushant in static visuals, etc., which was a very, very young and contemporary vibe for the brand. So wedding, which is a key occasion for Sonata, that also we showed a regional skew. And just look how smart the visuals kind of have, how smartly the visuals have evolved over time to make a statement without raising prices, that this is the brand of choice for the value conscious consumer who's really aware of trends and wants to be trendy. Facebook, we did a 1.3 million fans where we kind of grew almost to grew 1 million fans last year, and we kind of got an award for that as well through multiple engagement activities. Today, these are people who have actually tagged Sonata. They're micro-influencers, they're users of ours, and we are quickly ramping up our Instagram following as well. So we took a lot of initiatives, and I'll request your attention on these as well. The driving principles were, are they consumer-centric? Do they help amplify the brand proposition? Are they regionally relevant? Because while Sonata is available across the country, a lot of, I mean, India is clearly an aggregation of so many disparate markets with different consumer insights, and we wanted to kind of play to them, to play to our strengths and engage with those consumers. And finally, being contemporary and being relevant to today's audience. The first one, this was the first one where we made actually an app that was a one-stop destination for people who follow Durga Puja. It was first started in Bengal, and the next year it went to 4 larger metros, which had a lot of Bengali diaspora. And today it sits on the smartphones of more than 1 lakh consumers. We went regional, where we said, okay, we'll go to the heartland and say that what works there. So Kabaddi works there, and there was an on-ground initiative that was taken, and we kind of sponsored that. Our own Karnataka state, which is such a big market, we said that we will be part of KBC, which is a skill-based game, and we integrated Sonata beautifully, where the backstories of the consumers came up on screen. And as KBC, you need a lot of conviction and belief in yourself to move ahead, which I think is the cornerstone of the brand strategy as well. We are the official timekeeper for Chennai Super Kings, the most popular franchise in IPL, and we will keep on doing so for the next 3 years. We have the exclusive right to make watches for them, and there's a lot of on-ground and digital content that kind of came from this initiative. We partnered with Mission Mangal, again, something that amplifies Khud Pe Yakeen. It's a separate thing. The movie went on to become a massive hit, but we also launched a certain collection with them, and the women audiences warmed up very well to this. And this was in real life an initiative which was driven so heavily by women. And the movie helped us engage with the more modern audiences again. There's industry recognition. Professor Subbarao had hinted upon that, but a lot of recognition came to us for Sonata Act that we spoke about. A lot of it came for our digital initiatives. But this, I think, remains the cornerstone, where only 7 brands were awarded that year, and Sonata was one of them. It's a matter of great pride for both the brand and the company to have got that. We were covered extensively in the Economic Times, and as any marketer would tell you, that it's a great high point to have in one's career. The business performance, we were speaking, we have hovered around the 5 million mark, but last year we took a 10% increase to 5.6 million watches. And something very important, it's not only business metrics, but also the brand performance. When you look at top of mind, if you look at the awareness metrics, that top of mind kind of increased by 10%, spontaneous has been static. The usability of this usership of watches has gone up by 38%. People who own Sonata in 1 year has gone up by 23%. People who are considering Sonata and only considering Sonata has gone up almost by 40%. And people who are considering Sonata amongst the top 3-4 brands has gone up by 6%. So these are very, very enviable brand metrics, which I think are a result of all that we have done. I'll finally leave you with what I mean, this is, if you look at these initiatives without reflection, then they seem that a lot of work has happened. And sometimes, when in conversations like these, it's very difficult to see if there's a common thread running. And thanks to this occasion, when I was reviewing all the work that has been done and trying to cull out the best to present before this audience, there were certain insights that jumped at me, and I'll share these things with you, and I'd love to hear your feedback on them. And the first one is that brands are living entities. Like babies, they are kind of conceived, you need to nurture them. They go through the same cycles of aging, maturity, and in a 20-year-old cycle, it's normal for any brand to go through 3 or 4 or 5 cycles. And be rest assured for all the future practitioners in marketing that as the years kind of roll by and the times to come, these cycles will be far more numerous and far shorter. So the amount of reinvention, the amount of thinking that would need to be done on brands will be that much more sharper and that much more intensive. Consumer is the focal point. I was just thinking what's the best way to talk about it, and I hit upon the analogy of how you drive a car, right? You have a rear view mirror, you have side wing mirrors, and then you have the windshield. My only proposition and what I have been taught in this company is that the windshield should always be focused, is let's say a parallel for the consumer. Where you are going should be led by the consumer, not by the competition. Competition is great to have a look at them every now and then and see what they're doing. But your consumers are your consumers. Your responsibility, accountability is to them. To give the best possible value is your duty, is a solemn duty to them. And that's, if you really believe hard in that principle, there's no way you can stumble, but you can never fail. However, a lot of brands end up focusing on what competition is doing. It's okay at a tactical level, but at a strategic level, at a real strategic level, it never pays to follow the competition. You must take what they're doing into account, but never follow them blindly. Empathy is essential. What is your consumer getting affected by? We are in these tough times. Some of us are working from office. Some of us are facing job cuts. Some of us are definitely facing pay cuts. So in these times and these times of uncertainty, do you understand your consumer? It's not only about what your consumer's need states are. It's about what your consumer is going through, how she's concerned about her future. What will work for her? What will not work for her? Does she have enough income to kind of splurge on discretionary goods? Are her life priorities changing? And something, if you don't kind of take those things into account, chances are that you can be really tone deaf in your communication, in your product. And to have a pulse of the consumer at all times is extremely important. Conviction is contagious. If you are passionate about something, you will transfer that passion to others. And it's never a singular effort. I work in a company with 7,000 plus, 8,000 plus people. To get something at a conceptual level, we believe in a lot of consensus building. So a decision taking is consensus building, is through consensus building. How you execute that decision is even more difficult. If I look at my stakeholders, they are designers, marketers, my agency partners, my factory people, my supply chain guys, my marketing people, my product managers, and all of them need to kind of come together to help make a decision. And even then you might go wrong. So you need to take a lot of people around with you. And how do you take a lot of people is only by transferring your vision, transferring your passion, transferring your dream of making a difference to other people. And finally, it's about whatever you do, try to measure it. There might be very linear measures of that. So you could look at brand strength, you could look at the movement in brand metrics, you could look at movement in sales, but try to measure whatever you do, reflect upon them, and then learn from them. What works, do multiply that effort. Something doesn't work, fail fast, fail small. I think that's the way a lot of businesses will work going forward. And then finally celebrate every little milestone. If you don't celebrate small milestones, chances are you will never be able to inspire your teams, inspire yourself, inspire your ecosystem to gear up for a larger vision, larger dream. And this is all aggregated. I mean, you have a small win, a collection does well, a product does well, a small marketing campaign does well. Appreciate the people, appreciate the effort that's put in, and chances are it will all snowball into something more massive and more spectacular. So that's it from my side. I hope I made some sense and was able to kind of give you a picture on what the brand is, how we have tackled the brand over the last 3-4 years. I'm happy to take questions. I'll just stop sharing the presentation so we can have a conversation and anything you might want to ask or comment on.
Thank you, Utkarsh. Wonderful talk. So there are quite a few questions, and let me start with some broad ones. So how do you see going forward, and what has happened so far? Maybe we would like to understand with the advent of mobiles having time showing on them. How has that affected the watch watches, wristwatches market in general, and how has it affected Titan and Sonata?
Okay, so great. Thank you for the question, Professor Subbarao. I think there are two things, and what I'm doing is I'm just taking a step and giving you a certain data point of a year back, because I think this year is not a normal year. Uh, Two things which have happened. Watches have continued to thrive as the largest player in the country. We have grown by 10% plus CAGR over the last 4 years. So watches are not going anywhere. However, Professor Subbarao, the role of watches has changed. Today, a watch speaks more about who you are, what your personality is, what you stand for, what your interests are, where do you see yourself, and whom do you kind of work with. The entire utilitarian aspect of watches, I think, is taken for granted. I think people don't even look into their watches for time, because time kind of surrounds us on our mobile phones, on our laptops, on our wall clocks. But it's all about a statement. The other piece is that the entire influx of smart watches uh, has really kind of given a boost to the watch category. Today, the smartwatch category across the world is growing upwards of 50%. In India, I had a data point from Flipkart where the growth of smartwatches is growing at the growth rate of smartwatches is 60%. So suddenly, a watch is giving you functions which are more relevant for today's lifestyle. You want to know about your heart rate? Go to a smartwatch. You want to have a set target of 10,000 steps a day? Go to a smartwatch. You want to sing and kind of just look at your social media on your watches? Please go ahead. So I think the entire use case of watches has changed from mere time telling in two ways. One on the style dimension, and two on the smartwatch utility aspect. And these two streams are running in parallel. And these two streams are critical for all our brands in Titan Company Limited and the how should I say, the category at large as the two growth levers. Brands which are doing a great job of making watches a style statement will do well. Brands which are doing a great job of getting good wearables and good smartwatches will do well. So in the onslaught of mobiles, in the onslaught of a lot of wearables, this is how the watch industry in India and globally looks at its future.
Okay, great. So how does you talked about quantifying outputs and quantifying results and measuring them and acting, taking corrective or, reinforcing action based on that. So in something like a marketing campaign for a specific category of watches, what are ways you actually measure things on the ground? I mean, how do you gather feedback about how customers are reacting to things? Is it purely sales? Is there any other indicators?
Sure. So I'll actually step aside, Sonata, and don the hat of my portfolio. I'll give you the example of something from our Fast Track stable, which is called Fast Track Reflex. It's a smart band. Today, it's got 1 million+ users, and they engage with it. Now, how do we know it? A, because obviously we have sold those many watches. Two, because it comes with an app, the data is stored of consumers on the cloud. So today I know at an aggregated level, because we are committed to privacy, that certain users in Bangalore use their reflex band every day. They use it for 8 to 9 hours. During these 8 to 9 hours, they probably log in 8,000 steps. They look at their messages on the band, so on and so forth. So this is something which is kind of hardwired into the business end of. Brand metrics are a fantastic way. So the brand metrics that I had shown Professor Subbarao earlier on, we have a rolling brand track, and that tells you every time you do something, what is the result. So I'll give you an example. When we did the Sharodia app in Bengal, our brand scores in Calcutta went up by 10%. So we know that people are engaging with brand Sonata, and it's kind of reflected there. The other piece is that today, a lot of retailers of our scale and heft have loyalty programs. And how those buyers kind of come in to engage with different collections, how frequently they buy, what price points they buy. These are all kind of aggregated into a data piece. When you talk about individual campaigns, it's very interesting today. A lot of our budgets increasingly are going on digital. And even in digital, they are kind of bifurcated in performance marketing within e-commerce. They're bifurcated, they're kind of divided into digital media, and they were divided into social. So the level of engagement you see on social media, the level of reach you get through digital media, and the kind of comments and engagement, the entire qualitative nature of that tells you whether something is worked or not. I mean, it's happened so many times that we get a television ad as an MPEG on our WhatsApp handles from somebody. So if you like it, you kind of send it across. If you don't like it, you kind of pan it. So either ways, you know what's working, what's not working. And these disaggregated views from store data, from product usership data, from brand track metrics, from digital data, social media, all kind of combine. And as marketers, it's our responsibility to look at this data, look at these massive dashboards and just see what's working, what's not working. So this, in my experience, has been the evaluative methods that we have seen on seeing things, whether they're working or not working.
Okay, so of course, the talk about the pandemic is very much in the air, and we know that it's going to change. It has already changed everyone's lives. How do you see the times that are coming, specifically from the perspective of your brand and marketing of it? Will there be any different branding? Will there be any change in the way you market?
It's again, I think a very timely question. In fact, in my e-commerce role, I just presented an entire scenario building to my management 2 weeks back. So a couple of things there, Professor Rao. I think the pandemic has not affected everybody at the same level. There is a certain segment of audience. I mean, if you look at a linear continuum, at one end of the continuum is a consumer who's really facing, who's very adversely impacted and is really thinking that, what are my priorities now? My priorities are now health, children's education, etc. And let me put discretionary spending at the back burner. At the other end, there's a consumer. At the other extreme, there's a consumer who's just saying, oh, when do I go back to Starbucks with my friends and have my favorite latte? And I think India kind of oscillates between these two variables. There are enough people in each segment. So how we see it, guys, that I think discretionary spending in the short term is out of the question. People will need a lot of cajoling, persuasion, and tangible discounts to get into the category, whether it's fashion, and we are kind of part of the fashion lifestyle space. So that's A. B, I think the entire focus on health is really strong now. If you are healthy, if you are immune, chances are you will be able to weather, because clearly I think now the conversation is veering around that Corona is here to stay. How you cope up with it is up to you. So a lot of devices that monitor our health will be in vogue, and you will see a lot of use cases that come from there. Finally, I think retailing will change. We all have started wearing masks when we go into public spaces. The last thing you want to go into a store with a lot of people there. So I think that piece will change. E-commerce will become big. People will see if they can, kind of continue their shopping through, how are they kind of managing that piece? And I think the consumer behavior up till, how should I say, Diwali, as a company we are seeing, as an industry we are seeing, will be, we are really waiting for Diwali to see if things finally turn around. So for the next 6 months, I would say all of us are very conservative from the consumer outlook, from the retail outlook, and we'll just see month on month how it opens up. So frankly, nobody has got very clear answers, but we are just looking at the situation, how it unfolds in each market, and we'll play to our strengths. In terms of brand communication, I think it's a wrong time to do any hard sell. It will be not fair for us to ignore what's happening in the consumer's life and say, oh, here's my watch. It's a fantastic piece of engineering, or it's a fantastic piece of styling. But so a lot of communication, which is right now going on out from TCL brands, Titan Company Limited brands, is all about telling consumers to take care. And slowly we will move where we make a very compelling reason for people to buy a watch, and but that will take some time. So I think in the short term, everything is conservative, everything is consumer centric, and we'll really hold our horses before we really go aggressive on the sales front.
Okay, there is a question about the global markets, and maybe if we move away for a little bit from this, from the topic of the coronavirus, etc., maybe at times before, is Sonata present in international markets, and if so, then how have you tackled the markets and the local competition there?
Okay. So first of all, my apologies, Rahul. I'm sorry your voice deceptively sounds like Professor Subbarao. My sincere apologies.
So no problem. Yeah, that's fine.
Not for addressing you. So Sonata, so I'll tell you, Rahul, that all our brands, most of our brands are sold in roughly 30 countries across the world, primarily Middle East, South and Southeast Asia, and very few parts of Africa. So Sonata is sold in more value conscious markets. So the SAARC markets, which are your Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, there we see a fair bit of traction because these markets are very closely aligned with the Indian market. So what is happening to the overall market is happening to Sonata as well. The other place where we are present well are the Middle East markets, which have a lot of blue-collared Indian diaspora, and they know the value of the brand. So there, people have been purchasing us. We don't have a very different market strategy for them, but we kind of place our products with in line with competition there. So we take a look at what competition is offering at what prices, and we do that. Now, frankly, how those markets will behave are anybody's guess. At the other end, we are in a very interesting market. We are very rapidly growing in the market of Philippines. And when I spoke to the country manager there, and I myself have handled that market 4 years back, that person said that a lot of people, because there is a lot of economic stress there, people are looking at products which are fantastic value at lower prices, give good warranty norms, and look stylish. I mean, Philippines is a very, very style conscious country. So it's absolutely different things that work for different people. In Philippines, the assurance of a brand and styling works for us. In the Middle East, the recollection of the brand works for us. And in South and Southeast Asia, Asia, which are the SAARC markets, their affinity with India and what's happening in the Indian market, helps us make people aligned to the brand and build brand affinity there.
Okay, so since personally I hold a bit of interest in supply chain management in that area, just curious to know, I mean, do you have dedicated outlets, maybe distribution? If you can elaborate a little bit on the distribution strategy, etc., will help.
Sure. So the different channels that we are present in are trade. So I'll tell you what trade is. Trade is your neighborhood multi-brand outlet where you see a Timex, a Citizen, a Casio holding with some clocks and Titan, Sonata, etc. there. So which is called the trade market. Roughly 70%, Rahul, comes from this market. So the entire pieces, we sell it to a redistribution stockist. That person sells to dealers. Dealers retail it to consumers. We're also present through the entire chain of World of Titan stores, which today number 500 plus in the country, which are franchisee stores or company-owned stores. So that's another outlet. The second biggest channel, incidentally, for the brand is e-commerce. When I say e-commerce, it's marketplace. So your Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra, these people serve almost 15 to 18% of the, I mean, 20% was the volume share last year. FY20 was 20%. So that's emerged as a big channel. We also sell through institutional sales. A lot of corporates buy us. And finally, in the large format store space, so something like a mass value chain, which is Reliance Trends, you will find in some of their stores Sonata being there. So these are the different channels in which Sonata retails in India from.
Okay, great. So coming back to sort of the old world, I mean, one more question related to the original place where the need for watches actually, right? I mean,
Sure.
you mentioned, and all of us, maybe several of us have gone through that phase where you no longer look at the watch for telling time, but you look at it to go with your attire and things like that, or occasion, right? Now, is that something with when you have now smart watches coming in? Is it going to be that the smart watch is going to be an essential feature, essential functionality rather in a watch, and then on top of that you will have all the usual, the styling and things like that? Do you see that happening?
So I think the jury is divided on that, Rahul. I'll tell you what's happening in the world of wrist wearables, and this is like that old marketing adage of whether you are in the railroad business or you are in the people transporting business that we all learn in consumer behavior and marketing strategy. I think the right way to look at watches now is to look at saying, if I need to wear something on my wrist, what is it going to be? A large part of it still is going to be analog, and as you clearly mentioned, something that goes with your attire, something that goes with what you're wearing, what occasions you're going to. Then there's the entire space of fitness bands. A lot of young people sport fitness bands, and but what ends up happening that when I look at across the table to a person who's wearing a fitness band, it's a piece of black plastic. I mean, forgive me for saying this. It might be the most complex piece of engineering somebody is wearing, but end of the day, the look it gives to the observer is something like that. And a lot of people are okay with that. So you see a lot of people wearing a watch on one hand, a wearable wristband on another. And then the third, I think the most rapidly emerging piece, which Apple has shown is possible. So you have still a smart screen, but everything else that goes with the watch, let's say a strap, a buckle, certain adornments, kind of hark back and link to the analog watch product's beauty. And even, and you will see some products during the course of this year, even from more established brands, where once you look at a watch from a distance, it just looks like somebody's wearing a very, very nice watch. You go closer to it and it's just a fantastic black screen, but which has come alive in certain ways. And that's a space which is rapidly growing. I mean, the entire success of Fossil Q, and we respect our competition a lot for that, has shown that a watch that straddles the accessorization space and gives phenomenal utilitarian value is a great combination. And the entire success of Fossil Q, which is a line of wearables from Fossil, lies in that zone. So I think to each his or her own, but we just see these three different streams with three different adoption rates in our country, because India is not a homogeneous market. We just see these three streams going forward, and you need to be fantastic in either of them. Either you are totally in sync with styles and trends and you make compelling pieces that are so hard to ignore and really kind of uplift what you're wearing. You give so much of functionality in a watch band that it becomes a critical part of your lifestyle. Or third, you kind of marry the two in such a fantastic marriage of form and function that you really need to use the watch in terms of formal settings, informal settings. And there's also a very small niche, as I'm speaking about it, came to my mind. The space occupied by guys like Garmin and Sunto. A lot of very senior people, very serious marathoners, cyclists, etc. via Garmin, and that's their everyday watch. And they really have given up. It's also a very, very evolved style statement that they make, that the normal trappings of watches are not for them. They need to monitor their lifestyle 24 hours a day. They need to see their heart rate any time of the day. And hence, that piece of gadgetry is their go-to piece through the entire day. A lot of people even sleep with it, let me tell you this. So these are the ensuing use cases of watches, and we will see changes happening across these 3-4 dimensions. That's the way I see it.
Okay, great. I think we are coming to 8 o'clock. I think we have covered most questions. I hope I have covered most of the questions. So thank you for patiently answering all the questions. I will hand over back to Captain Nagaraj.
Yeah, thanks, Rahul. That was wonderful. And Utkarsh, there was an interesting question from a former student of mine, Piyush Kurana, who says that doctors these days are recommending that you do not wear watches, you do not wear jewelry, which caught me a little by surprise. Are you aware of this?
No, I think it would be from the perspective, if you are into public spaces, metal and materials like leather, rubber, etc., which generally are found in watches. I mean, if you contract the virus, it's in the environment, it kind of stays there for some 7-8 hours, and hence these pieces can be unwitting carriers of the disease. I think if that's the perspective, that might be it. But in our stores, etc., we are taking care, Captain Nagaraj, that people don't sample it. So I think the entire sampling piece in retailing will take a backseat. What Rahul was saying, that what are the changes you foresee in retailing? This will be one big one in the fashion industry. I think a lot of people will not try that much. So that might be one of the cautionary points from medical practitioners, saying that for some time, can you stop wearing jewelry? Because even in Bangalore, I read, sir, that a lot of shopkeepers are not allowing people to try jewelry because if they're infected, it's a long gestation period for the microbe to remain on the piece of jewelry. That might be the only reason that comes to my mind.
Fantastic, Utkarsh. I think we're into a new normal, and you would agree we're into a new normal. So people like you have a lot of cognitive work left in figuring out what the consumers want and how retailers are going to sort of react. So thank you very much. And by definition, brand strategy is a long-term plan for the development of a successful brand in order to achieve specific goals. A well-defined and executive brand strategy affects all aspects of a business and is directly connected to consumer needs, emotions, and competitive environment. That's what Mr. Thakur took us through today. Thank you, Utkarsh, for taking us through your journey with Sonata and Titan. I would like to, before I thank my team and continue, I would like to request our member of the board, Mr. Jairaj, if you would like to ask a question, because he has been, I'm sure, associated with Titan for a number of years in many capacities. Sir, would you like to pitch in with a question?
Yeah, I would like to make a few comments, Captain. Not too
yes,
many.
Sir.
First, Captain, I'd like to congratulate you and Rahul for this extraordinary, distinguished speaker series. And I'm very happy that more than 200 of our friends are here, and I'm sure that they have benefited immensely. And I would also like to congratulate Utkarsh on an absolutely splendid and riveting presentation. Actually, Utkarsh, I have seen the growth of Titan from the days Xerox Desai, the founder,
okay, sir.
And
sure.
Oscar Bhatt and Harish Bhatt and Chawla and others drove it. And,
Yes.
I think all of us who heard you should be very proud that Titan is a made in India brand.
Yes, sir.
That, today it has a standing of its own entirely because of the effort put in by, as you say, the team. But more importantly, because, I hope our students have appreciated the need for creativity, design, adaptation, calibration for the market, quality, and reaching various levels of the market and also price points. That to me is the real takeaway from what you have said today.
Sure, sir.
I think that, we owe a debt of gratitude to you, Utkarsh. And maybe I'll request the Dean to request you to join us on some other occasion in which, when things become normal, you can come to the university and speak again